disinformation is absolutely central to Soviet strategy for defeating what they call the main enemy, that is, the United States, without firing a shot.
From Cold Wars to hot ones.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine isn't limited to a military assault. The Kremlin is actively deploying misinformation and disinformation.
The deployment of false information is a powerful tool used to stoke fear, anger, or passion during uncertain times, when people are desperate to see what's happening on the ground in real time. But in an age where that's available at our fingertips, we know any information can run wild. This video, allegedly from the point of view of a Russian paratrooper descending on Ukraine, hit nearly 20 million views on TikTok and was shared on Barstool Sports, according to Ben Collins at NBC. That is before it was taken down on most platforms because fact-checkers identified it as a Russian training exercise, first posted by the same user on Instagram in 2015. Then, there are rumors planted by Russian officials or supporters that make their way into our mainstream media to support a certain agenda.
Ukraine has those? Yes, it does.
Even us at the Recount, while we don't engage in disinformation, we have made some mistakes. So we wanted to know how we could help stop the spread of dis and misinformation, both as a newsroom and as news consumers. For that, I brought in Shadane Urbani from First Draft, a nonprofit that works to train journalists and NGOs on how to identify and respond appropriately to misinformation.
I think it's really hard during wartime, even for the most renowned journalists and institutions, to get everything right. And that's just because there's a lot of information that's really difficult to verify.
I just want to start by sort of like level setting and getting some definitions out of the way. So can you tell me what disinformation means and how it's different from misinformation?
Well, the main difference between misinformation and disinformation is intent. So there's a lot of misleading information out there that people share, not necessarily with an intent to harm, right? Disinformation is misleading information that's shared with an intent to harm. So that could be for political gain, it could be to make money, or it could be just to make trouble.
What is it about the age of the internet that has made this so potent?
I think there was this idea with social media that social media was going to democratize the internet, right? And it was going to provide all of this access to information. But along with it has come this incredible ability to look for and share information without necessarily knowing what the source is. You could watch a video on Twitter and think that it is coming from Moscow, but really the original source of that video is Yemen or Syria, and someone has just seen it and reposted it as if it's in that place, right?
Shadane paused on that last point. She says video taken out of context, both time and place, is a big problem during conflict, but a really easy one to check on yourself. To learn how, she had me download an internet browser plugin called Invid, which took about 1 minute to install, and she walked me through it.
So if you look at this video, you can see it's kind of hard to see what's going on. It looks like there are shots being fired. The caption here, which is originally in Spanish, says that it's Russian military helicopter firing on the population in Kyiv. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna copy this URL.
Then we opened up the Invid verification plugin, conveniently pinned to my browser.
And then we're just gonna drop that link from Twitter right in here.
The application will then give you a lot of metadata about the video, but since I don't understand that, we scroll down to the bottom of the page where it produced a thumbnail.
What that thumbnail allows you to do is quickly do a reverse image search. And we can see that this video has been labeled as actually coming from Turkey. And if you look at the date, it's from 2016.
So clearly not from this current conflict as advertised.
I think that anytime you're looking at a video that already looks like it is difficult to pinpoint in terms of location, that's somewhere to be skeptical. So planes flying over a region, right? A missile launch where there are explosions, right? The same thing happens with wildfires as well. Anytime that there's a wildfire, an image from Australia will be posted as if it's a fire in California. So if you want to do the same type of verification with images, that's even easier.
With a simple download of another tool called Revi Reverse Image Search, we analyzed a viral image allegedly depicting a Ukrainian farmer capturing a Russian military jet.
And if we scroll down and look at some of these other instances where this photo has been posted before, we can already see that it's old. But if there's new material, right, if there are new photos and there are new videos that are just misleading in some kind of way, that's a lot harder to investigate, of course.
But we gotta equip ourselves with what we can.
Yeah.
When it comes to new material, we get into territory often called false flag attacks.
It's basically the idea that you are obscuring the source of an operation and pinning the blame on someone else.
An example from late February is Russian-backed separatists in Ukraine posting pictures of an explosive attack on civilians by Ukrainians. But a forensic pathologist identified that the event was actually staged based on the break in the victim's skull and bullet holes in the vehicle, which he said could not have been the result of an IUD explosion. The point of these attacks:
trying to obscure who is the aggressor, right, and who is the victim to elicit some kind of response that wouldn't have been otherwise.
For example,
there was a rumor in 1979 that the US CIA was behind an attack on the Holy Mosque in Mecca. It was spread on Pakistani media during a cricket match.
the next day, the United States Embassy in Islamabad was attacked and burned.
That's a worst case scenario, but the underlying tactic is still used today. It's a lot to look out for, so it's sometimes best to just focus on where your information is coming from.
If you're looking at a website, ask yourself, where does it come from? If it looks like a news organization, is it in fact one?
She says you should also pay attention to the accounts you're following on social media. Ask yourself, what is their name or username, and can you verify that with a more primary source? Where are they located? What do their old posts look like? And when was their account created?
If an account was created right before or amid a breaking news event, that's a little bit of a red flag.
I saw this report from Signal Labs that said that there were more than 53 million mentions of misinformation and disinformation on Twitter since 2019, and those numbers were increasing. So do you think that just more awareness about this problem makes us better equipped to handle it inherently?
Awareness, I think, of misinformation can help us better equip ourselves to respond to it, right? But there's also a problem of trust in media. The analogy I like to think of is when it comes to climate change, right, and climate issues. So you can recycle as an individual as you want. You can be incredibly environmentally conscious, but if there is some huge corporation that is depleting the Earth's resources, well, your role in the environment is infinitesimal compared to that. And it's similar in a way with information as well, right? There are bigger forces at play. There are media organizations, there are platforms, right? There's the way that information is distributed, and individuals only have so much they can do to change that.
One way of looking at the impact of these activities, and they've gone on for many, many years, since the 1950s, is to think of drops of water falling on a stone. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour, 1 day, nothing happens. But 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, you've worn a hole in the stone.